Hello, everybody. Welcome to Galactic Wisdom. Thank you so much for watching. Well, we've got an exciting, probably 2 or 3 podcasts coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they're all going to be my summary of reality. For those people who don't know me, my background is as a space scientist, but also as a UFO investigator, a UFO researcher. I travel around the country a lot, trying to figure stuff out. And paranormal investigator, I have figured out in the course of my life a lot about reality, and I'm going to share that with you today. One thing I would like to share with you first, though, is I am going to be going on tour, hosting friendship circles all around the US, bringing people together and hosting contact events all around the US over the next few months. And wherever you are in the US, if you live in the US, I invite you to join me. And hopefully next year I will be traveling around the world a little bit doing this also. I'm going to put up on my screen for you my current schedule. So this is the current Alien Friendship Contact Tour. And I will talk briefly about this image, but this is not what the show is about today. I am going to start in 1 month from today, November the 30th. I am starting in Bakersfield. And in Bakersfield, I will be hosting a friendship circle. The idea of these friendship circles is that we put aside all of our differences and we come together in peace, in friendship, that we put peace above our politics, our religion, our differences, our arguments, and we focus on the most important thing, and that is being peaceful and friendly with each other. And that is going to be an event in each of these places that I'm going to. And you can attend if you live anywhere near these places. And if you don't, well, this is just the start of the tour that you can see here. So in the following months, I will be going to other states. Also in Bakersfield and also everywhere else, I will be hosting contact events. So they will be early evening events when the sun sets so that it's not too cold. We are going to go outside and we are going to meditate and we are going to reach out to our non-human friends and invite them to come to us. Now, I will be starting in Bakersfield and moving up north through California, Fresno, then Sacramento, then heading across into Nevada, coming down through Reno, Hawthorne, Tonopah, which is where Area 52 is close to. I'll be hosting an event there. And obviously, we're not going to Area 52. We're not going to storm the grounds or anything, but we will be able to see the sky above it. And hopefully we'll be able to connect with some craft that are in that area. We'll be continuing down to Area 51. The last time I went near Area 51, I had alien craft in the sky above me, circling me. And that was remarkable. And they were not from Area 51, those particular craft. And above Area 51, I actually saw a blue anomaly, shall we say. I've shown it in the past on this show. I'm continuing to Las Vegas. I'm going to spend a weekend in Las Vegas and Henderson, hosting events there. We have a special connection with the tall white beings that live out there. One of my good friends has even seen the mothership, a gigantic craft, a couple of times with his parents when he's gone out into the desert meditating. So hopefully we'll connect with the tall whites when we're out there. I'm continuing my travels into Utah and then across into Page and down to Sedona. Now, Sedona is where there's a lot of activity. I'm going to host 2 events there on a Friday and a Saturday. And there will be the friendship circles and there will be contact events. You're welcome to join me if you like. I'll be continuing from Sedona. Sedona, incidentally, is where I videoed that orb, that blue orb. So I'll be going back there, and I'll also be going to Bradshaw Ranch again. Overguard, Arizona. That's where Travis Walton, he lives there, and I will be hosting an event out there in the Sitgreaves National Forest where he was taken. And that's a really beautiful place to go and visit. Maybe there'll be snow on the ground at Christmas, I'm not sure. Then Gallup, New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Santa Fe, Tucumcari. I haven't been there before. Then across to Oklahoma City, where I have some good friends, and hopefully there will be a nice big crowd gathering in Oklahoma City for us. Wichita, Kansas. We're heading up north into Kansas. And I used to live in Kansas, around the Kansas City area, so I have a lot of good friends out there. We're going to start off on January the 4th in Shawnee Mission Park, where we have seen tall silvers and a range of other beings, reptilians, and we've made good friends with a lot of beings out there. They have come to us and given us messages out there. In Blue Springs, Missouri, just across the border, where goblins came to us and they asked for our help. And Buckner is a very spiritual place where, again, tall silvers came in and we communicated with them. Then we're going, let's see, that'll be east across to Columbia, Missouri, and St. Louis. I'm not sure if I'm saying these places right, forgive my accent. But there are some Native American Indian grounds out there where there are large pyramids made out of earth, and we're going to host an event there. Indianapolis, Indiana, Columbus, Ohio. I'll be staying with friends out there and hosting events in that area. Cincinnati, Louisville, or Louisville, as somebody recently said I should pronounce it. Hopkinsville, Kentucky, where one house several decades ago was apparently invaded by an alien craft and alien beings, and it's known as the Hopkinsville Goblin Invasion. I'll be going out there hosting an event there. Nashville, Tennessee, Chattanooga, Villa Rica, Georgia. That's a place where the last time I was in Villa Rica and hosted an event out there, we actually had 3 people see beings appear behind me at the moment that I said, oh, somebody's just arrived. And at that moment, 3 people saw the beings behind me. I've got all that on video, and maybe I'll show it sometime here. Birmingham, Alabama, Tupelo, Mississippi, out there where in the Elvis Presley birthplace park. That's a nice hillside where we lie down and reach out to aliens. Memphis, Tennessee, Searcy, Arkansas, Clinton, Arkansas, Harrisville, Berryville. The last time I was in Berryville, I hosted an indoors contact meditation. We went outside, and in the sky outside of the building was a alien craft hanging out there and stuck around for a few seconds before it disappeared off. Returning to Shawnee, Kansas, then Bonner Springs, Unity Village, Missouri. And that's just the start of my tour. And I haven't figured out the rest yet, but I'll be heading from there. I'll be heading east through Pennsylvania. And let's see, why is that not coming off my screen? Let's see. Okay, remove, there you go, remove from state. Add to stage. You know, thank you. I think Bill probably helped me out there. I don't know why I couldn't remove that particular image from my screen. But yeah, I'll be heading to Pennsylvania, and then I'll be continuing east to the East Coast. I'll be going up as far northeast as you can go. And I haven't been to those states before, but there'll be contact events in all of those states. And I'll come down the East Coast. Maybe when I pass through the New York, New Jersey area, I'll be able to go out with Bill and do a contact event with our producer out there. That'll be fun. And I'll be carrying on down south March, April, down into Florida. So there's a lot going on. I will let you know that in a upcoming episode of Galactic Wisdom, I'm also going to show you a 15-minute video of probably about 20 or 30 people who have seen the beings who come around with me when I go touring around the country. And when they describe the beings, I know which beings they're talking about. There is a small Ebon who, during my meetings, it kind of hides behind me and peers out from behind me like a little child. They have a very childlike energy, and this particular being is known to us as Jean-Luc. And people see this. People see Jean-Luc behind me sometimes. And the most common being that people see around me, behind me, not hiding behind me because they're probably 4 or 5 inches taller than I am, are very tall alien beings that I call tall silvers. They're tall, classic, bulbous alien head, silver gray skin, and they have been seen by probably 20 or 30 people at my events. And when the people describe them, these beings, they always describe them the same way. And I have a video that I've put together of about 20 or 30 testimonies. And so I am looking forward to sharing those testimonies with you. Okay, let's see. I am going to go now to my notes, and I'm going to give you an overview of reality. And I'm going to cover everything that's on the list in our event description, from the start of the universe to fortune telling to what happens after we die. I'm going to take a sip of hot chocolate first. Okay, let's see. Now, I try as much as is practically possible to be respectful of everyone's beliefs. But that's hard sometimes. I know that a lot of people listen to me because they want me to tell them what is real and what is true. But I know that a lot of people, they're not really watching my show. They're not really watching other people's documentaries or shows. They're not reading books or trying to investigate reality to determine what is real. Their highest priority is simply to find things to support their existing beliefs. Now, I try not to be disrespectful of other people, and so I generally don't argue with people and their beliefs. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe. But believing things is kind of holding humanity back from gaining some very important knowledge about reality. And I, during this show, try to tell people what is real. And I apologize if some of my statements go against people's beliefs. I am not doing it to annoy people. I am doing it because I know there are people who want to know the truth. So I apologize when my knowledge is inconsistent with your beliefs, but I am going to go ahead and I'm going to state what I have been able to work out to be true. So in this show, I'm going to unashamedly tell people truths. I'm going to unashamedly point out to people which common beliefs are mistruths. Now, the most common mistruth that people believe in this world, in terms of supernatural, paranormal things, is that there is a God. Over the last few hundred years, a long list of occurrences that had previously been attributed to God have been conclusively discovered and proved by science to have happened via natural processes. Those scientific proofs have therefore indirectly proved that God wasn't responsible for some of the things that people had previously believed him to have been responsible for. And some of these proofs, these scientific proofs that I'm talking about, they're hundreds of years old now. And at the time when these proofs came out, things, for example, like when Galileo figured out that the Earth was not the center of the universe and that actually it circled around the sun, he was persecuted for coming out. He was persecuted by the church, by people who believe in God, for coming out with that idea. He was put under house arrest and not allowed to come out for the rest of his life. He was ordered not to share his opinions about reality with other people. He was put on trial. It was not pleasant for him, and that's hundreds of years ago. To this day, many people still haven't fully accepted many other scientific truths. Most people now have accepted the idea that the Earth is not the center of the universe and the Earth orbits around the sun. But a lot of people have not accepted things like the Big Bang and evolution, which are scientific truths that have been proved. The scientific proofs that we have that go against some people's religious beliefs, we have been able to, by proving those things, indirectly prove that God wasn't responsible for doing those things. By proving that 2 + 2 = 4, we have been able to indirectly prove that 2 + 2 is not equal to 100. If we can prove that the Earth formed naturally by gravitational processes bringing together clouds of interstellar dust and matter, then we have indirectly proved that God didn't click his fingers or state his will and create the Earth. And so I'm talking about this up front because I want to say to people whose beliefs are contrary to scientific knowledge, I want to say that I'm not saying anything disrespectful to you. I'm not being mean. I am going to talk about scientific truths here. And I will always hopefully be friends with you, with religious people, with people who have different opinions. Putting peace first is the most important thing. But at some point, humanity has to be able to move forwards with the knowledge that science has given to us. The reason why this is so important is that many people's beliefs in a God are holding them back from the acceptance of several extremely important realities, existentially important realities. And so I encourage anybody who's watching this show who still believes in a God to try to consider the possibility that your upbringing might have influenced you to incorrectly believe in something that isn't true. People generally believe in the God that they believe in because they were brought up believing that. And whichever country you come from, whichever society you come from, whichever religious beliefs that culture has, those are the ones that you end up with. And if we could just sort of gain that perspective of looking around the world and then looking back at ourselves and saying, well, maybe I believe in this particular God and this particular religion because that's how I was raised, maybe that can be helpful to people. I would like to thank Genghis Khan for being here with me, adding positive comments into this show. I really appreciate that, Genghis Khan. And so if you're still watching this show now because you're sincerely, intelligently, and honestly seeking truths, facts, and knowledge and understanding about reality, well, this is for you. So here is my overview of the most important aspects of reality for any human being on this planet to know. The universe started about 13.8 billion years ago with an enormous explosion called the Big Bang. God didn't create the Big Bang or the universe. That kind of God doesn't exist. A lot of people still call the Big Bang a theory. It's astonishing that we have to call something that has been scientifically proved with such strong proof that we still have to refer to it as a theory in order to placate religious people who don't want to accept that as being true. But you can actually, I've said this before in my shows, but you can actually look out into space, and the further out into space that you look, you can see further and further back in time, because the light that's traveling through the universe, it can be traveling for billions of years through the universe before it reaches our telescopes or our eyes. And when we take a photo of that distant galaxy where the light has taken billions of years to reach us, we're seeing the universe how it was billions of years ago. And we can look right out into the universe far enough back that we can see the afterglow of the Big Bang. Big Bang, big explosion, everything's so close together, fiery mass, no light can penetrate through it. It's like a soup of energy. It expands outwards for hundreds of thousands of years before finally it's expanded out enough that the photons of light are freed to move through empty space. And at that moment, a lot of those photons of light that were freed have been flying through empty space ever since, for 13.8 billion years. And we can see it. We can see that afterglow of the Big Bang wherever we look, in every direction in space. It's called the microwave background radiation, and it's proof of the Big Bang. And there's many other proofs as well. After the universe had expanded and cooled sufficiently, matter was strewn throughout the 3 lower dimensions of space, our 3 physical dimensions of space. And another substance, which I have named Corether, was strewn throughout higher or ultra dimensions of space. The scientific problems of dark matter, dark energy, and the antimatter-matter asymmetry suggest to me that this ultra-dimensional Corether might actually be ultra-dimensional antimatter, antimatter. That's a theory of mine. I haven't proved it to be true, but everything to do with the paranormal is consistent with that being true. In a similar way that a 2-dimensional sheet of paper might exist within a 3-dimensional room, our 3-dimensional physical realm exists within a higher dimensional Coretherial realm. Now, there's an attractive interdimensional force between matter and Corether. Every particle of matter attracts a corresponding particle of Corether to it. And so every atom, molecule, stone, planet, and star has a corresponding Coretherial atom, molecule, stone, planet, or star intricately woven throughout it and around it. Now, we could call these Coretherial ultradimensional conglomerations spirits. We could say that every atom, molecule, stone, planet, and star has its own spirit. I'm not talking about living spirits. I'm not talking about conscious spirits, not complex spirits like ours. I'm just talking about simple, lifeless, Coretherial masses connected to all objects and all matter around the universe. Throughout the history of the universe, gravitational forces have acted to bring matter together to form stars, planets, and moons. Gravity brought our solar system together about 4.6 billion years ago. And, there's so much proof of that. There have been probably hundreds of thousands of samples from the moon, from Mars, from the planets, from interplanetary space, and from the Earth that have been scientifically dated to be 4.6 billion years old. That is the age of our solar system. And our solar system is formed from a wide variety of different atoms. And those wide variety of different atoms or elements were created in stellar formation and in stellar deaths, supernova explosions, and in the center of stars as they burn, where fusion of lighter atoms occurs, turning simple hydrogen and helium into more complex atoms like iron and carbon, the types of atoms that our bodies are made out of, and the types of atoms that, well, every planet, every object in our solar system is made out of. So it was gravity that brought our solar system and our Earth together. God didn't create the Earth. We know that to be true now. There is not a place in our scientific understanding for God to have created the Earth or the solar system. Science explains it completely how that happened. Throughout the history of the universe, it's not just gravitational forces that are bringing particles together, it's also electric forces. Electric forces have acted to bring subatomic particles together, like electrons and protons, to form atoms. And they've acted to bring atoms together to form molecules in basically chemical reactions. You know, a lot of people who I talk to who can't give up the idea of a God say to them it's incomprehensible that life can form out of just a bunch of chemicals. And people say if you take a bunch of simple chemicals and throw them together, you don't get life forming. Well, scientifically, that's wrong. Scientifically, we know that gravitational forces do bring smaller particles together to form bigger masses. We do know that electric forces bring smaller particles together to form atoms and molecules. We know this is true. So people who make that statement are objectively incorrect. And if we were to hypothetically think about, well, okay, let's assume maybe that you're somehow right, that you can't create complex things without something more complex creating them. Well, that then becomes paradoxical, because if you're stating that God had to create us because we're too complicated to have formed naturally, well, God is even more complicated and complex than us, if he were to exist. And therefore, the argument that we couldn't have evolved naturally applies to God even more. And you end up proving yourself to be incorrect. So there's nothing in the reality of our planet forming and human beings forming, of smaller things coming together, that is consistent with the idea of God creating any of it. A wide variety of different molecules, including complex organic molecules, such as those found inside DNA, have formed naturally throughout the universe. And scientists have found these in comets and meteorites, in interplanetary debris that's out there. Complex organic molecules such as those found inside DNA. The components of DNA have been found naturally floating around out there in the universe. Just they've come together because of gravity and electric forces. The components of DNA, and this stuff is being planets and moons are being bombarded with this stuff every time comets and meteorites come down and hit the surface of the planet. It's almost inconceivable that life has not started all around the universe naturally due to the scientific facts that we've already discovered. And so throughout the universe, when environmental conditions are right, complex, organic, self-replicating structures develop and propagate. Self-replicating structures that occur because of the DNA components of the molecules that are in there. This is not magic. This isn't divine. It's just chemistry. Now, it's not easy knowledge to acquire. To know something, you have to prove it for yourself. You can't just absorb knowledge from somebody, because then that's just a belief. You have to prove it yourself. So the things that I'm saying are not easy knowledge to acquire. I don't want you to just simply believe the stuff that I'm saying, but you can go away and you can research the things that I'm talking about, and you can discover that they are all true. You can go out and become a scientist and do your own investigations and discover that these are all facts that I am talking about. That's something that is true about reality. That once you've discovered something, you can explain your discovery to something else so that they can discover it and know it too. You can logically say, this is how you can prove 2 + 2 = 4. And if you can't get that sort of clarity from your beliefs, if you can't prove your beliefs to be true with the clarity and the absolute airtight correctness of 2 + 2 = 4, then it's time for you to consider evolving to higher levels of thinking and to let go of your beliefs and to embrace knowledge instead. Now, organic structures that are not able to self-replicate, for example, like viruses, are not considered by science to be alive. I'm going to move this mic closer to my head because I'm leaning forwards too much. I'm going to say that again. Organic structures that are not able to self-replicate, like viruses, are not considered by science to be alive. Organic structures that can self-replicate, like bacteria, are considered by science to be alive. So let's think about that. Bacteria we consider to be alive because they, all they need is sort of water and basic atoms and molecules to bring in. I've got somebody with me over there. I'm not sure what kind of paranormal entity it is, but thank you very much for being here. Bacteria can absorb what they need from the surroundings, energy and atoms and molecules, and reproduce themselves, split in half and reproduce themselves, self-replicate. Viruses, if you look at close-up electron micrographs of viruses, they're scary, monster-looking beings that seem to be living things. They certainly contain their DNA, but they're kind of inert by themselves. They can't self-replicate. What they do is when they connect with another cell, like a living cell, like a bacterium or a cell in our body, they sort of take over some of the functions of that cell and make the cell do the self-replication for them. But in many ways, they're very, very similar in their structural makeup to things that we consider to be alive. So that arbitrary line that human beings currently draw between things that are not living and things that are living is merely the biochemical ability to self-replicate. And that's it. That's what determines if something is alive or not. Life is not magic or divine. It's just chemistry or biochemistry. Life is not the sudden insertion or appearance of a spirit. That self-replicating thing is not sufficient for something to suddenly have a spirit. And do we really think that bacteria have, at the the moment of their conception, like a conscious spirit just sort of popping in there and inhabiting a previously inert sort of growing body. Ultra-dimensional corethereal masses exist around all matter, around all atoms, all molecules, all viruses, just like they do around bacteria. Both viruses and bacteria have spiritual bodies. All matter, down to the smallest subatomic particles, have corethereal spirits. Corether is just physics that science hasn't yet discovered. Spirits are just science that human beings haven't yet, well, scientifically discovered. And so life has been developing naturally all around the universe for most of its existence. Countless trillions of moons and planets around the universe developed living organisms on them billions of years before our solar system even formed. On our planet, simple, single-celled, photosynthetic organisms developed about 3.5 billion years ago. And we've got the fossils to prove that. Fossils of microbial mats of cyanobacteria from 3.5 billion years ago, shallow, warm oceans. And these were oceans. The planet was very, very different back then. The planet back then was largely carbon dioxide. It was very, very hot, therefore. It was like you might call it a runaway greenhouse effect, but that's just the natural state of the planet. It took the photosynthetic organisms billions of years to take out that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and give us the oxygen that we rely on today. That's an important scientific fact. If you know it, it really helps us to understand some really important changes that are happening on the planet today. Now, a natural process occurs within all populations of terrestrial organisms. Those individuals that have differences that are beneficial to their survival, because, in a species, there's natural variation, right? In human beings, there's natural variation. Our children look different from each other. They all have slightly different DNA, so they all look different. And that is true throughout all populations of living beings. So those individuals that have differences that are beneficial to their survival are more likely to pass on their DNA because they can have, because they're more likely to have the successful production of children. And so over time, beneficial differences spread naturally throughout populations. And in this way, populations of organisms gain beneficial characteristics over time. So this is, I'm saying this kind of quickly, but this is a really important logical process that happens on this planet that can't not be true. You have a beneficial characteristic randomly that is randomly within a certain organism, and if it's beneficial to their survival, they're more likely to survive, they're more likely to pass on that DNA to their children are more likely to survive, and in this way, those beneficial characteristics or traits spread into a population. And over time, the populations gain new beneficial characteristics in favor of older, less helpful characteristics. And this is called natural selection. And this is how organisms evolve. In this way, populations of organisms gain beneficial characteristics over time. They evolve. So when people say evolution is just a theory, no, it's not. It's not just a theory. To state that evolution is just a theory is not to understand the logic of the reality in which we live in. This is just as logical and correct as 2 + 2 = 4. It can't not be true if you understand reality sufficiently well. After about 3 billion years of evolution on this planet, vertebrates evolved. I could spend a month going into the full evolutionary history on this planet, and it would be fascinating, but this is supposed to be a smaller summary of key important things for us to learn about. In different environments, different characteristics are beneficial. And so in different environments, organisms evolve differently. So let's say you've got, I don't know, a rabbit and a population of rabbits, and one population starts to spread to more northerly areas of the planet. One population of rabbits starts to spread to more southerly areas of the planet. One is going up into colder regions, one is going down into warmer regions. The rabbits that are finding themselves living in the colder regions, well, a characteristic of having thicker fur, maybe even white fur if it's snowy, those characteristics are more beneficial to the rabbit. And so the population of rabbits takes on those characteristics naturally through natural selection. And those that go towards the equator, towards warmer conditions, they find that thicker fur is not very helpful. They can't sweat as easily. They can't release the heat as easily, and they need to stop more often to catch their breath and to drink water. And so something called speciation happens, where eventually you get two distinctly different species of rabbit. Human beings are going through the process of speciation right now. And I'm going to talk about this some more, but this is a major point in the history of humanity. Speciation is happening right now. And one group of humans is acquiring characteristics that are going to be helpful to survive. Another group of human beings are not gaining helpful characteristics. They're gonna not make it. It's only one population of humanity, of humans, that is going to survive. We're not going to survive being human. We're going to be evolving into the next stage of our evolutionary history. That's happening right now. And I will explain some more about that a little bit later. So let's see, vertebrates evolved. First, fish evolved in the oceans. Then some coastal fish evolved into amphibians. You know, you've got mud skippers that can move their fins like this, and they can pull themselves up out of coastal waters and into the shallow areas of water. And they've evolved eyes to be on top of their head so that they can see above the water, a bit like crocodiles. And their forelimbs are so strong that they almost act like legs. And there's advantage. There certainly was advantage back then in coming out of the oceans, because life evolved in the oceans, and there was a lot of predators in the oceans, and they could escape. They could escape from the ocean and be safer. And if they could come out onto the shore, they had new sources of food that they could eat that were just laying out there on the sands in those silts. So fish evolved into amphibians. The amphibians still needed to go back into water to lay their eggs, because their eggs are not waterproof. But in time, the amphibians' skin evolved to be waterproof. Their skin and the skin of their eggs. We can see in the fossil records these stages occurring. We can even see it in the DNA in all of the organisms that are alive today, because our DNA is built on DNA from the past. We can see it in our own DNA. When when we are just embryos, we still have fish and gills. We still have a fish tail, and we still have fish gills. When we're just embryos, we go through the stages of our evolutionary past as we develop from an embryo or a zygote into a full fetus. And so this is stuff that's proved. Amphibians evolved into reptiles, which was very helpful because they didn't need to go back to water to lay their eggs. They could just lay them in the ground. They could come further up onto land. Some reptiles then later evolved into birds. Again, more helpful adaptations, feathers, and we've got fossils of dinosaurs and other reptiles out there with feathers evolving into birds. Now, some amphibians, that they developed hair or fur. They didn't, there was lots of different species of amphibians, and not all of them developed eventually into reptiles. Some of them developed hair or fur, which helped them to stay warm and active when it was cold. They also developed milk-producing glands, which enabled the mothers to feed their babies directly from the safety and warmth of their own bodies. And these amphibians ended up looking more like shrews or mice, the simple first mammals. This is one of the 5 classes of vertebrates we call them mammals. We got fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. About 2.8 million years ago, the hominin species Homo habilis evolved on the African savannas. Now, if you're interested in this stuff, like if you want to hear more about all of this evolutionary process, join my website, join my group, and there are videos that I've got on this subject, and you can fill in all the missing details. I'm skipping forwards a lot here because I'm trying to focus on the most important details. But after about 2.8 million years of evolution, some of these mammals evolved into not just humanoids, but humanoids that are similar enough to modern humans that scientists have classified them as humans. Our species is Homo sapiens, which means man wise, basically. But there've been about at least 13 different Homo species or human species have existed over the last 2.8 million years. And the first of those was Homo habilis, that evolved on the African savannas. Fossils of Homo habilis are similar enough to modern humans that scientists have placed this species in the taxonomic genus of Homo, which means human. From the time of Homo habilis to the present day, the fossilized remains of at least 13 archaic, we call them archaic human species, have been identified, including Homo antecessor, Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, Homo floresiensis, Homo habilis, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo longi, Homo luzonensis, Homo naledi, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo rhodesiensis, Homo rudolfensis, and Homo caprinensis. They're not very easy to say, but they're all human species. Now, some of those species are known to have produced and used stone tools before our species evolved. Some used fire to cook their food. Some wore clothing made out of animal hides that were stitched together. Some created works of art, and some are known to have interbred with each other, which is why a large proportion of modern humans have a bit of Neanderthal DNA in them. You can get your DNA tested, and most people listening to me now will discover that they've got probably 2 or 3% of Neanderthal DNA. You might also find that you've got 2 or 3% of Denisovan DNA, which is another human subspecies. It was about 300,000 years ago that modern humans, Homo sapiens evolved in Africa. Through a slow sequence of advantageous changes, our brains had become a little larger than those of the other Homo species around us, extending higher above our eyes and giving us more steeply inclined foreheads. Supported by the already established practice among hominins of cutting and cooking food with stone tools and fire, our lower faces had become smaller, with smaller teeth, jaws, and jaw muscles. We didn't need to rip through our animal catches viciously. We were cooking things, and so the strength of our lower jaw, our lower faces, was diminished. Our frames had become lighter, less robust, and more gracile, reflecting the survival and reproductive benefits of mental strength over physical strength. Human beings evolved naturally on this planet. God didn't create us. That kind of God doesn't exist. We've proved that 2 + 2 = 4, therefore 2 + 2 does not equal 5 or 6 or -3. Aliens also didn't put us here. We've proved that human beings evolved naturally on this planet. We're a product of this planet's natural environment and natural processes. So I am about a quarter of the way through my notes on reality. And so there's probably going to be about 4 of these reality podcasts that I'm going to be giving over the next few weeks. And soon after that, heading off on tour around the country. If you would like to join me at any of my friendship circles around the US, or at any of my contact events, then there you go. Then please just join my group here. If you like my content and you would like to support what I do, please consider joining one of my tiers in my Patreon group. That would be very much appreciated. It will help pay for my gas money as I travel around on tour. I hope you enjoyed listening to reality today. I wish you all peace, love, and well-being. You take care for now. Goodbye, everybody. And that's usually the point where Bill comes in and plays the intro music. So I'm guessing, I wonder if he's fallen asleep. Let's see, I'm going to play around here a little bit, and I'm going to bring up my the image here of, there we go, my friendship and contact tour. And I'm just going to put this up on the screen, and people can look and see where I'm going to be, where I'm going to be traveling over the next 3.5 months, starting in November. And I hope that you will join me in any of these places. My email address is at the bottom there. If any of you would like to, then please do go ahead and email me and ask me any questions if you have any. And do go ahead and join my Patreon group. People who join my Patreon group, they're able to attend any of these events for free. For a $10 membership in my Patreon group, you can attend all of these events for free. If you would like to attend one of these events without joining my group, that's fine. Come along, and it's going to be a $15 event fee. Now, there are people out there who charge $200 or $300 for contact events. And I know a lot of people who have paid $200 or $300 for contact events. Okay. And I'm getting a message here. It's time to wrap. So Bill is now ready to end the show. So let's see. I'm going to take that off. I thank you all for watching again, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye for now.